of the game.
Hi, I'm Kelsa Dickey, the CEO of the Financial Coach Academy and my financial coaching business, Fiscal Fitness Phoenix. My coaching journey began more than a decade ago with me helping people for free from my dining room table. What was once a little business of mine has grown into a seven-figure company that employs a team of people. My goal is simple, to help you fall more and more in love with financial coaching. I believe financial coaching is the most rewarding way to make a living. If you are an aspiring financial coach or have been coaching for years, I'm here to help you create a business you love that gets your clients massive results. Let's get to it.
Hey, financial coaches. Welcome to episode 66 of the Financial Coach Academy podcast. Before we dive into the 14 simple hacks to boost your marketing efforts, I have one quick announcement for you. Our semi-annual sale is happening soon. All of our specialty toolkits will be 20% off for the holiday weekend coming up. From May 24th through May 27th, you can expand your coaching skills, get a 90-day financial coaching program, and deepen your relationship with your clients with these specialty toolkits. They are designed specifically for financial coaches to help you combine the financial and analytical part of what we do with the emotional and behavioral elements of coaching conversations. In other words, the toolkits help you become so much more than just a budgeting or debt payoff coach. You can add your name to the waitlist so that you will be notified as soon as the sale begins by going to financialcoachingtoolkit.com, scrolling to the bottom and adding your name to the waitlist. Or if you are listening to this episode between May 24th and May 27th, then you're going to want to go straight to financialcoachingtoolkit.com, choose the specialty toolkits that you want, and get 20% off. So let's now dive in to 14 simple hacks to boost your marketing efforts. I'm really excited for these. These are all direct strategies and tips that we shared with the coaches from the Client Creator Challenge. So I thought I would share some of these with you. These are tips and strategies that we provided in the very first week of the challenge. So it's a little bit of a hodgepodge of optimization strategies based on where you are and what you're already doing with your marketing and client attraction efforts. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and hopefully you're going to gain a ton of value from this episode. If you're not sure what the Client Creator Challenge is, I just want to direct you to a couple of episodes where I've talked about this offer that we have, this program that we run once a year. You can check out episode 9, How Do I Get Clients as a Financial Coach? And then episode 28, Why Aren't You Getting More Clients? Those will give you some more insights, but essentially, the Client Creator Challenge is a 90-day challenge that we run from January to April every single year. And each week, coaches inside the challenge focus on one pillar in their business. We have 5 pillars that we focus on. They pick one pillar, they evaluate it, they identify one way that they can improve that pillar, and then we help them to take action by determining what that change should be. And we rinse and repeat that until their system for client attraction is really dialed in. During this process, they're getting real-time feedback and direction from me and my team. So most coaches go into the Client Creator Challenge already doing something for their marketing, right? They're posting on social media, or they're writing emails, or they've got a podcast maybe, or they're doing one-to-ones. But they aren't seeing much traction from those efforts because there's something missing in what they're already doing. And CCC at first is all about filling those gaps and really optimizing what they're already doing. It is not about doing new things necessarily, but refining what you're currently doing so that we can make that thing work. It's typically easier and better to double down on your current strategy than it is to create something brand new. But if what you're doing isn't really working, or isn't working as great as you want it to, it can be tempting to scrap that entirely, go back to the drawing board and see what other people are doing. Maybe you heard another coach or some online digital marketing person say that they got success in one way, so you stop what you're doing and you try their way instead. When really the correct course of action is looking at what you're currently doing and figuring out where in what you're doing it's failing you. Fill that hole, but keep on going. So what you're going to hear in today's episode is a lot of refinements that we offered up to coaches. And again, these are all refinements that we offered in just the first week of the Client Creator Challenge. So as coaches were sharing, here's what I'm currently doing, we would take it step by step, pick it apart, and fill in the individual gaps that they were having. So keep in mind, you cannot do every one of these things perfectly right out the gate. It's not possible. Your goal is to pick one part of your client attraction efforts, Try to improve that, and hopefully we will give you an idea or two today on how you can do just that. So let's dive in, and I want to hear from you at the end of the episode on which one of these you will be implementing in your business. So hack number 1 is using testimonials. When you get a testimonial from a client, I want you to share that testimonial, of course, but here's the hack. I also want you to break it down into various phrases and create a lot more content to share all versions of the same testimonial. For example, here is a testimonial that one of the coaches in the challenge received, and exactly how I had her break it down into mini testimonials, okay? So here is the exact review that this coach received. Quote, I held a lot of subconscious tension around my finances, and after the session, I feel so much more relaxed because of the clarity and direction I gained. Coach's name really transformed the way I look at bank accounts, expenses, and financial targeting during the session. What I learned directly led to my wife and I paying off debts, which was a huge goal of ours. Focusing on loan repayment efforts, breaking all expenses into monthly expenses, and being open to leveraging multiple bank accounts in order to automate finances were all game changers. Those wins will continue to snowball us into the mile markers we set during the session. I honestly got more than I expected, and my bar was not low, unquote. First of all, huge kudos to this coach, obviously delivering a ton of value, getting your clients results. You should feel really proud of this testimonial, and I know that you do. And so I'm just really proud of you, and I wanted to say that first. Now, beautiful testimonial, and this coach should and did share it as is, right? But you can also break this down into a bunch of mini testimonials, pull out one phrase and just post that, okay? So here are 6 examples of how I had this coach take this one testimonial and create a bunch of mini testimonials out of it. Here's the first one. After the session, I feel so much more relaxed. That's number 1. Number 2, after the session, I feel so much more relaxed because of the clarity and direction I gained. 2 different testimonials right there, but the same phrasing. Number 3, coach's name really transformed the way I look at bank accounts, expenses, and financial targeting during the session. Number 4, what I learned directly led to my wife and I paying off debts, which was a huge goal of ours. Number 5, the wins from our session will continue to snowball us into the mile markers we set during the session. And last but not least, I honestly got more than I expected, and my bar was not low. Each and every one of those is its own testimonial and should be shared separately in addition to the main larger testimonial. Then what you do is you add a call to action to each one. And here is a great example of a call to action that could go on these posts. I'd love to help you experience the same thing. Click here to schedule your very own session, or click the link in my bio, or however you want to say it. Okay, that's just an example of one call to action. Notice that I did not use a very specific part of this testimonial, and that is the how part of the testimonial. So clients will often share the how in their review, and that's okay to share it, but it is not one that I would pull out and repeat or replicate in my marketing going forward. So for example, this client said, focusing on loan repayment efforts, breaking all expenses into monthly expenses, and being open to leveraging multiple bank accounts in order to automate finances were all game changers. Those were the how, right? Those were the specific steps that this coach had the client take. And I'm glad she did that. Those are awesome strategies for sure. But notice that we're not going to use those as part of the client testimonials going forward because the how is not the most important part. Another client's how might be different. So that is not the important part of your testimonials. The idea is that instead of one testimonial, we created 6, if not more, from this one. And I instructed the coach to post one each week for the next 6 weeks so that they're continuously sharing a positive experience to their audience. So if you have testimonials from your clients, take a look at them and see how you can create a bunch of smaller testimonials and social media posts out of them. All right, hack number 2, capturing clients' results. Client results are really important. Client results are one of the 5 pillars that we focus on because they are proof that your coaching works and is valuable. Not only are testimonials great, but every coaching session, I want you to ask your clients what's one thing they gained from that session. Then I want you to use these in your marketing. That way you have it in their words and make sure you use it in their words. I don't care if it doesn't sound like the way you would say it, or maybe it could be worded a little bit more eloquently. If everything you share is overly perfect, your clients will think that they need to be perfect. And when they're not, they're less likely to schedule with you. Plus, the things that they care about aren't always the things that we think that they're going to care about or that we care about ourselves as the coach. So if you're not asking at the end of sessions, I want you to start asking and then using those in your marketing. Client results, like I was saying, is one of the pillars that we really focus on in the Client Creator Challenge. And it's one of the trickiest parts of business because it's all one big feedback loop that informs each other. So we need clients to have the best marketing and the best offer articulation, but we need those things in order to get clients, right? So it's kind of a tricky thing. Even if you're gaining the answers to that question from beta clients, that is totally okay, but make sure you're asking that question. All right, number 3, your networking meetings. Your goal from your networking meetings is to get more one-to-one scheduled from that meeting. I want you to meet lots of people. Be honest that you're new if you are and are looking to gain as much knowledge as possible. In the Ultimate Growth Guide series that we've shared, you can go to financialcoachacademy.com/ultimate growth guide. I shared in part 1 of that series how when I'm at a networking event, I might schedule consults with a potential prospect if there is one at an event. So I do want you to have that mapped out just in case you go to an event and there are people who are interested in getting your help with their finances. I do want you to have that figured out, and you can get that from part 1 of the Ultimate Growth Guide. But more likely than not, you're actually going to be at networking events to meet other professionals, okay? So questions that you can ask to sort of keep the conversations going with these professionals are the following. The first one is, do you often come across clients or people who would love to hire you but are struggling financially and so they can't? And if they say yes or sometimes, offer to meet with them to see how you might be able to help each other out. Another question that you can ask is, what are some goals you have for the coming year? Or what are some goals you have for the coming quarter? That is a really good business conversation starter. Another question you can ask is, what's something from the previous year that you're proud of? So if it's like in January or February of the year, it's really a nice pivotal moment to sort of ask about the previous year or the upcoming year. But you can really ask this at any time too. You can kind of say like, what's something from the previous quarter that you're proud of? Now, if the conversation is stalling out professionally a little bit, like maybe you're just not really connecting and don't really see how you could help each other's clients, then you can always take the conversation a little bit more personal. And so you could ask something like, any fun trips or vacations planned for this year? That's a really good one, like I said, when you're just trying to get the conversation flowing a little bit. Another question you can ask is, are there any other networking opportunities you've taken advantage of and that you would recommend? Some of the best ways to discover networking opportunities in your town or your city are to simply ask other people when you're at a networking event. In other words, your focus is on meeting other professionals and scheduling one-to-ones with them. But I also want you to focus on inviting people to your email list when you're at networking events. So you could say something like, when you stand up, let's say, to introduce yourself, you might have like a 1-minute commercial, let's say. You could say something like, each week I send out an email with a key financial strategy or practical money advice that you can apply right away. If you are interested in receiving these emails, I'd love to invite you to join my email list. Simply pass me your business card and I will add you. Then hopefully you'll have people sort of walk up to you and hand you their cards. And of course, you can modify that lingo that I just said to work for you. You can also say this when you're talking to a person one-on-one. So let's say you're just having a side conversation. If they say something about money or any other topic that you might talk about in your content, you can say something like, I'd love to add you to my email list so that we can stay connected. Do you have a business card with your name and email on it? In other words, networking is not done so that day you get a client necessarily. You go to a meeting, you find someone who wants to become a client, and voila, you get business from one networking event. That's typically not how it works. It's meant to be so that you make connections so that you can further those connections after the networking meeting is done. And I'm going to share some more logistics on that in just a second. But first, let's move on to hack number 4, which is tied to your social media. Social media can be a time suck for sure. It's honestly when my perfectionism is at an all-time high. I can tinker and tweak endlessly. And honestly, no one would even notice some of the shit that I'm like changing endlessly over and over and over again. So keep that in mind. Done is the goal. What I really like you to do, and we recommended this to a lot of coaches in the challenge, I want you to set a goal and a timer. Maybe you're trying to get 5 posts done in 1 hour or 5 posts done in 30 minutes, depending on how fast you are. Get them done. And then if time permits, so you still have time left in your goal time, then you can circle back and adjust the ones that you like the least. But don't let yourself spend endless amounts of time on something that most people are going to just keep scrolling by. Also, use templates. In Canva, I've got some templates that I use over and over again to cut down on some of this tinkering time. I know it's a cost, but Canva Pro can be a really great tool as a time saver. You can have your brand colors uploaded, and then you click the shuffle button, and it will automatically rotate through your brand colors on your template images so that everything looks different but still cohesive. So that is definitely a recommendation there if you're not using that. Finally, candid photos are the best anyway. I have an album in my phone titled SM, social media, and I have saved a bunch of my favorite candid photos, if you will. Me alone, me with my kids, me sitting at my desk, me on a Zoom meeting, those types of things. And those photos require zero time to make. And honestly, they're better anyway than the really heavily curated photos. So try to have a mix of candid and curated images, which will dramatically cut down on the amount of time that you're spending on your social media. All right, hack number 5 is related to making offers, which making offers is another one of the 5 pillars that we tackle inside of the Client Creator Challenge. And offer, when I say that, doesn't necessarily mean a sales offer into your program, but whatever you are asking somebody to take the next step with you, wherever they are in their client journey. How are you inviting people to take that next step? That is your offer. If your marketing is solid, so people are seeing it, they're connecting with it, you're getting comments, maybe messages, or people are joining your list of some type, that means you're doing something right. But the next step in the process was actually the weakest for some of the coaches in CCC. So I want to share some of the things that we discussed. If you have someone DMing you, let's say on LinkedIn or Instagram, and or maybe they're commenting with you in your Facebook group, the next step is your bold offer. You have to take someone from an online relationship to offline. Think about it as like taking someone from the metaverse to real world, okay? You've got to take someone from your DMs or connecting online to a call. That is the goal, okay? We saw over and over again, coaches would share an exchange that they were having in their DMs and ask for feedback and sort of say like, what do I do? How do I like sort of take it from here to here, right? Again, that is just one of those like very nuanced sort of things that you have to figure out in business when you're first starting out. And I kept finding myself saying to coaches, okay, those 5 back and forth exchanges right here, and I would sort of like talk about them, those 5 all should have been done on a phone call. And that's after this second question or this comment right here that happened really early in the conversation, that's where you needed to convert them, right? So now it's just kind of weird and awkward, right? So let's say it's a referral partner that you're trying to connect with and you're doing a small exchange back and forth. And again, a couple of things, right? And then what we would recommend that you do is something like this. I'd love to connect virtually with you sometime via Zoom. Let me know if you're up for that and if I should use your scheduling link or if you prefer using mine. Here it is, just in case that's easiest for you. You just have to ask. Move it to a real world relationship. It will actually have a better chance of success and the synergy will hopefully grow from there. And keep the tone friendly. When I first meet with a referral partner, even in sort of real life, if I'm meeting someone locally that I met at a networking event, I like to start off getting to know them personally. Things like, tell me about yourself, where are you from? That sort of jazz. Then I shift to a more professional part of the conversation. Tell me about your clients. How did your business get started? That kind of stuff. Then that way, when I am extending this initial invitation to connect, my tone isn't unprofessional. That's not what I'm saying by any means, but it's got a friendly, personal vibe to it. Like, hey, I'd love to connect with you on Zoom sometime. Let me know when you're free to meet. Right? So it's sort of that more friendly tone. Well, that was the other thing that we sort of saw with a lot of the CCC exchanges from coaches in CCC was it was a little sterile, a little stuffy, a little like almost ultra professional, and you don't even know this person yet. So you really want to start with like, let's just get to know each other, let's connect, and then we'll, expand the professional relationship from there. But your goal overall is to not to have long drawn out conversations in your DMs. It's really to get them on out of the metaverse and into the real world quickly. Okay. All right. Hack number 6 is your freebie or opt-in. If you need help creating a freebie, so a freebie or an opt-in is something that you offer for free. Typically, a person signs up with their email address, right? That way you then capture their credentials, their contact information, so you can nurture them from there, right? If you don't have one of those and you need help just creating one to begin with, I really like Alex Hormozi's teaching on this. He breaks it down in a super simple, easy to understand way. Episode 586 of his podcast, I want to say it's called The Game, is from August 19th. It starts his $100 million leads audiobook. So essentially his audiobook, you can get that on Amazon, Audible, those types of things, or he literally has the entire audiobook for free on his podcast. And it starts with episode 586. That is the resource that I recommend if you don't have a freebie or an opt-in and you need to create one. Literally, it is the simplest and most direct training I have found on how to create one. So start there if you're not sure where to start. Now, let's say you already have one. Maybe you're getting eyes on it, or you're not getting eyes on it, or you're not converting people, which is where some people were inside of CCC. Here is what we recommended. You actually want your freebie or opt-in to be seen consistently in your marketing. You want it to become familiar to your audience, which helps to build trust. So once you design your freebie, I want you to think of 5 benefits that freebie provides. Think of the problem it helps people overcome. Then take each one of those and write some content for it. And the call to action is your freebie. Okay, so you've got 5 benefits, 5 solutions, or 5 problems that they're experiencing that your freebie will help them solve. However you sort of want to think about that, right? And then you are going to design a call to action for each one. Get this download, or get my free training, or this video, right? Whatever your source of your freebie is. And then I want you posting about it routinely and consistently, not just once in a blue moon, maybe once a week for a very, very long time. You want it to become very familiar, okay? And then in addition to those consistent posts, maybe once a week, like I said, you can do blitz weeks where you only talk about those benefits or those specific problems that it helps you to overcome in every single post for an entire week. And each one of those posts, the call to action is your freebie or opt-in. And you can do that 2 to 3 times a year to really get more eyes on it, okay? Another suggestion with your freebie or opt-in is a software or an app called ManyChat. ManyChat, all one word. We use this as an automation tool. This is the app that allows you to do something in a post that says something like type newsletter and I'll send you a link to get on my newsletter, right? Or type this word, type waitlist, and I'll send you a link to get on my waitlist. And it does all of that automatically so that when somebody on your post comments newsletter, it will automatically send them a DM with the link. And you can customize and personalize that. So you can actually include a little message about it and the exact link you want them to get. You can, there's a free version of that where you get sort of like one word and one message that it will send, or you can pay $15 a month. And it's kind of unlimited is what I think. So you can have as many different types of words and links that you can send them to. I use it for the calls to action for my waitlist, my newsletter. Anytime we want to send them something, we use that. And it boosts engagement on your post because it's a lot easier for somebody to type a comment than it is, the idea of the link in bio. Go check my link in bio. That's a step that a lot of people aren't going to do oftentimes. And so, but they will comment. You can type the word freebie or opt-in or solution or something like that. And they're more likely to comment with that. And then it automatically sends them the link. All right. Hack number 7, nurturing referral relationships. You've connected with someone and you even did a one-to-one with them. How do you continue to nurture that relationship so that you stay front of mind and hopefully it leads to referrals? This was definitely another challenge that some CCC coaches were having. They were like, I've done one-to-ones, but I met with them 6 months ago. And like, how do I reconnect with them? Or how do I keep these relationships going? That way you're not always out looking for new relationships. So here are some ways that you can send a reach out or connect with them that feels very natural. Number 1, tie it to their profession. So let's say you see an article about their work. Maybe it's a mortgage lender and there's an article about rates are coming down or rates are going up, right? You could forward that to them and say, hey, I saw this and thought of you. I hope you're doing well. Right? So that's one example. Number 2, you can follow their newsletters and reply when they send something. So you could reply and say, this was great, enjoyable read, thanks, or something along those lines. It's a way of staying front of mind for them. Number 3, tie it to something personal. This is easier when you genuinely like the person and you do share a common interest. A really good example of this is when the Lions were in the playoffs and heading to the Super Bowl and all that kind of stuff, they I think it was like the first time in 30 years or something like that. And most people know that we're Lions fans, or I should say my husband is a Lions fan, and then I am by extension. I got so many people reaching out to me and saying, oh my God, are you guys so excited? And like that kind of thing. And it was just a lot of fun. So it's a way for people to connect. And I heard from some friends and people that I had connected with a long time ago. It was really cool. So if you know something about a person and you come across an article, you could always send it to them and just say, hey, this made me think of you, or something like that. You could send them article about a travel destination if you know that they want to visit that place, for example, or maybe they already went there and they loved visiting there. You could send it to them and say, hey, did you check this out when you were there? Just curious. This made me think of you. Okay. And number 4 example of a way that you can connect with referral partners is to tie it to something that is time sensitive. So this time of year, obviously we're in the first quarter of the year. You could easily send something like, hey, how was 2023 for you? Or how was last year for you? Or what's something that you're looking to accomplish in 2024? Or it's tax season. So if you're connecting with accountants, you could say something like, just want to send you a note. I hope tax season is going as smooth as possible for you. Let me know if there's anything I can do to support you during your tax season. One thing we did in the past was email the accountants that we had connected with previously and asked if they were taking new tax return clients this tax season, or if they were fully booked. And if so, which types of clients were they looking to add? That way, we knew if we could send them some of our clients, if our clients were looking to change accountants or looking for a new accountant. It sparked a conversation, and it also let us know if a client comes to a session and they're saying something like, I haven't been able to get a hold of my accountant, or my accountant said they're not doing my kind of return anymore, then we would know that who we could connect them with. And it also creates that win-win-win scenario, which is something that I am all about. All right, number 8. When you're making videos for social media or any other type of content, if you're struggling with sort of coming up with inspiration, or you feel really nervous and it feels like a big step that you're about to take, maybe you're new to recording videos, here's a couple of suggestions that will hopefully make it easier for you. Number 1 is visualize a specific person, like a friend that you know or a specific client, and imagine that you are talking directly to them instead of a whole bunch of random strangers. That can help it feel more genuine and also can really take the pressure off. The other thing you can do is share the conversations that you have with referral partners or clients and allow these real world conversations to inform your social media content. You can post things like, or share things like, today I talked to so-and-so who said blank, right? Or today I met with someone who asked me this question. It can prompt a lot of great things for your social media. So it actually feels, like I was saying, more like an extension of the real you and the real conversations you're having. You're not just sort of like trying to come up with content. This is some of the best content to share in your stories on Instagram, for example, or that more real-time type of video if you're needing inspiration for your lives. All right, number 9 hack, your email list. And really the question that you want to ask yourself when you're trying to come up with an email strategy is, where are you starting from? And again, we had coaches at all different places with this come into the Client Creator Challenge. So the first thing you want to do is choose an initial strategy. And you've got 2 main options, I would say. Option 1 is you build out a full nurture sequence so that when someone signs up for your email list, they get a series of emails that are curated to build trust and introduce you and what you can do for them. This, of course, requires more planning, and it also requires some tech stack, some tech strategy in order to set this up and have it be an automated process. Most email servers do this for you, but at a cost, and not everybody is able to upgrade right away. I totally understand that. I know when I first started, the thought of doing something like this just felt really intimidating to me and really overwhelming. I was like, what would I even put in these emails and that sort of thing when I was first learning my messaging and how do I help people, right? So if you're not there yet, that's totally okay. In CCC, we actually give people a templated series that they can then finesse with their own business if they want to go this route. Option 2, this is a great way to start if the idea of setting up all of that first one, so the tech stack, the series of emails, if that does feel intimidating for you, like I said, I totally get it. Option 2 is they get on your email list and they just start receiving your emails, whatever you send next sort of thing. Now, if you're going to go with option 1, where you have an email series, You don't want them to start getting your regular emails that you're sending. Let's say you send an email once a week. They don't start getting your once a week emails until they're done with your nurture sequence, because you don't want them to get your nurture sequence and also get like random emails in the center of that nurture sequence. It can be a little confusing. Your nurture sequence likely sort of has like a journey you're putting them through. So you want that journey to sort of stay cohesive and intact. And then at the end of that nurture sequence, and again, your email server software will do this for you, where it automatically stops them from the nurture sequence and puts them on your list for your regular emails. But the other option is to just have them start receiving your regular emails. This is totally okay. And it is better than not sending anything at all to any prospects or people who you've connected with. So if option one is overwhelming to you and you want to be using email, simply start by just getting them on your email list, typically with a freebie or an opt-in or something like that, and then sending them your emails on a regular recurring basis. Now, as far as your emails that you send on a recurring basis, you've got a couple of different recurring strategies for that. You can do sort of the newsletter style, which is like the 1st or the 15th. Maybe it's like weekly on Fridays. But these tend to have more structure and usually multiple parts or segments on them. Okay. So if you were to look at some of the emails you'll receive, it's sort of like there's different sections of the email, and it's very much like a newsletter style. The second approach is more of like musings. These tend to seem a little bit more personal, or they're less structured. If you get my emails, mine are like the second one. Okay. So mine tend to be, things that are happening in my life, financial decisions we're making, considerations that we're making personally around our money. It can also be business decisions that I'm making, and I tend to educate in those emails as well. But what inspires them is sort of real world, real life things that are happening for me. So more of the musings approach. Okay. Both are totally okay. It really depends on your writing style. If you prefer more structure, I tend to dislike too much structure. So it makes me feel like I can't feel creative. It's easier for me to sort of start with a blank page and say, what do I want to share today? And that's usually where my musings come from. Okay. The other thing that you want to do with your emails, again, this is depending on where you're at, okay, is you might have an email list. You might be sending emails regularly. And if that is you, so you're not needing to choose a strategy, you've already got a strategy that you've been working, your step that you want to do to refine your marketing efforts is to track and refine what you're doing. If you have an email nurture sequence already done, or once you've been sending emails for a while, it's time to begin tracking open rates and or click-through rates. So let's say you have a 7 email nurture sequence. Maybe there's one email in the process where clients tend to fall off, or you can tell that fewer people are opening it, right? Or what I want you to do is look at the subject line. Does it need to be modified? Can you make it stronger so that more people will want to open it? This is one really good thing to look at, okay, when you're open rates and click rates. You can continue to tweak and refine sort of one aspect at a time of your email nurture sequence to determine if it's better or worse. And then I want you to just kind of keep rinsing and repeating that. You really do only want to make one change at a time, though. I want you to think about changes that you make as controlled trial and error. In 2 episodes from now, I'm actually going to be talking about the difference between strategic trial and error and erratic trial and error. And that will really apply to this strategy as well. If you make too many changes at once, you don't know what part of those changes worked and maybe what didn't work. So you really want to try and make maybe one change to a subject line in your nurture sequence, send it out for a month, and then see if it doesn't increase your open rates. Okay. Now, once you feel good about what you've created and those modifications you've made, then you want to establish a review strategy. Maybe once per year, put a note on your calendar to review and edit your nurture sequence as needed. Here's why. You change, your philosophy on coaching will change, and your ideal client will change too. Reviewing your nurture sequence once a year is really, truly just best practices. So for some of the coaches in CCC, we got their email and nurture sequences really dialed in. They were feeling really good about it. We made a few modifications early on in CCC. And then I essentially said, okay, this is good for now. Put a reminder on your calendar for 1 year from now to review this and make any changes. But for now, let's choose another pillar to focus on. Let's put this one to bed. We don't need this one anymore. We don't need to have our attention going to this one. Let's focus on the next thing. Okay. All right. Number 10, once you have an email list, you have to invite people to join it. You can do that with your freebie or opt-in on your website, putting your freebie or opt-in in your calls to action on your social media consistently. Both things I've already shared in this episode. Inviting people to your email list is a great way to nurture them and is an easy yes for someone that you just met. Again, we're not always trying to get just the client right then and there to book a paid session with us. It's an easy yes to get them to sign up for your emails. So imagine saying something like, each week, I send out an email with a key financial strategy, or I send out some practical money advice that you can apply right away. Can I add you to the list? Great. Can I have your business card and I'll add you? Instead of, would you like to schedule a coaching session? Okay. Here's why this is important when you first start your business. You can't get clients without first getting prospects, and you can't get prospects without first getting leads. What newer coaches try to do is meet someone and immediately turn them into a client. So you try to skip the lead, skip the prospect. Those are key stages of the client journey. It's so much easier to get them on your email list and nurture them from there. So first we have to turn them into a lead, and then we can focus on turning them into a prospect, and then we can focus on turning them into a client. Much smoother process, I promise. All right, number 11 hack. Build a system for email and social media content so that you can become more efficient. If you sit down one day and do some social media, and then a couple or few days later, you write an email, and then you try to plan some video content another day, it's likely that you're just too all over the place. You want to try and create a system for content creation. So here is my process, just to give you an example. I start by writing emails. I have a document for each month. So right now, my April document is open most of the time right now on my computer screen. Okay. I have it broken up by week. So I am recording this episode, in March. So I think this is going to drop in May. So I've told you guys before, podcast recording is a little bit of like a time warp, right? So I'm in March right now. So right now on my computer screen, most of the time is my April email document. Okay. So I'm writing emails a month out, and I have it broken up by week since I try to send an email every single week. I write the emails throughout the month as I have conversations or as I personally feel inspired by something. Then after the email is done, I also have an April social media doc open where I simply take snippets from my emails and I put it into separate posts. So if you're shooting for 3 posts per week, I would have a 1, 2, 3, all the way down to 12. Next to each one, I would simply copy and paste some of the phrasing or some small paragraphs or smaller takeaways from the emails and put that into the social media docs so that I have 12 posts for next month as well. And then I batch create and schedule those out. Now, another approach to your content is to identify your content pillars. In CCC, we told coaches to draw a Venn diagram. So I want you to think about this. In one circle are all of the topics you like talking about: personal finance, human behavior, maybe your own hobbies or interests. And then in the second circle, you write all of the topics your ideal client cares about. And the overlap, the topics that are in both circles, those are your content pillars. If you focused 80% of your content on those things, it would not only be more cohesive overall, but it's probably going to resonate with your ideal client. It also helps you not have this big wide open space of like anything goes when I'm creating content. So like, where do I start, right? It can really help sort of hone and target your own efforts. And you don't have to do an entire month in advance. That took me a bit to get in the groove of, but hopefully this gives you a good idea for a system or routine that I really want you to try and establish for yourself. You can start with a video. So if you do best on video as your initial form of creating content, so you literally just go live and you just riff a video, right? Some people, that is their style. You could then take that video, download it through a transcription service, which is like 10 cents a minute or something. It's pretty inexpensive. And there's probably a gazillion AI programs out there now who do it for free. And then you can take that and either turn it into emails, turn it into social media, but you're taking one piece of content and then you're filtering it throughout your entire content creation process, not creating emails that are separate from social media, that are separate from videos and that sort of thing. Okay. The goal is to build continuity amongst the work you're putting in so that you're creating your content in a very cohesive way and also a very streamlined and efficient manner. Okay. All right, number 12, getting referrals. I need to do an entire episode on how to train your clients to refer to you. This is such a big part of our business at Fiscal Fitness. 85% of our clients come from referral. It is such an overlooked strategy for getting business, especially since the online world has become very loud. Think of how many hours you've spent on social media and compare that to the number of hours that you've spent on creating a referral program in your business. The latter actually has a much stronger ROI and is likely way more worth your time and energy. So one major thing to note with this is that most people don't know how to refer. I know I didn't know how to do that until I owned a business. That's also when I realized just how important referrals are. So I honestly don't even think it was on my radar before I owned a business that was something I should be considering. I would hire people and I would think they would do a great job, but would I think of referring other people to them? Absolutely not. Not until I was a business owner and realized the importance of referrals. So that is why we must educate and train our clients on referring to us. There are a number of ways we can do this, but here is one big one. To help our clients feel comfortable sharing their own financial journey. Their story can be a source of inspiration and encouragement for other people where they may feel ashamed of it initially. We can help them shift that. It's important that we talk with them about this so that they feel comfortable sharing both for them and their own growth and for us as well. This is oftentimes done during coaching sessions and something I think we should do as coaches anyway, even if it wasn't good for us, but because it's really what's best for the client, right? To help them to feel proud of themselves and what they've been able to do financially for themselves. Episode 38 is all about coaching clients on celebrating their wins. So that is a great place to start having these conversations with your clients. And I really want to encourage you to check out episode 38. Your clients feeling proud of themselves is the foundation of every successful referral program in your business. You cannot design the logistics of a referral program where you're asking people to go out and refer to you and talk about their coaching process with you and what that's been like, that experience, without a really strong foundation of them feeling really confident and proud of the work that they have done and how far they've come in their progress. Okay. So in a future episode, I promise to cover this more in depth because I do think it is really important. Number 13 are your calls to action. Creating more clear and more bold calls to action is something that we absolutely help coaches with in CCC, especially at first, but really the entire 90 days. I officially have a new rule, coach. You are not allowed to use the word if in your calls to action anymore. Here is an example. Here's an example of a call to action that a coach shared and was asking for feedback on. Here's her call to action. Quote, "If you have a dream and want to make it happen, let's talk." Now I want you to compare that. I'm going to take out the word if, okay? Compare that to what's a dream you have? I'd love to help you make it happen. Let's talk. Now, the let's talk part, I don't love that part, but I wanted to keep as much the same as possible in comparing apples to apples because all I wanted to show you was how much stronger it is if you remove the word if. All I did there was remove the if statement because let's say I'm this coach. My ideal client has a dream. So I want to be talking to the person who has a dream, not if you have a dream. My ideal client has a dream, so I know you have a dream. The person who I want to be reading this, the person I am speaking to in my content has a dream because my ideal client has a dream. Not if you have a dream. I don't want to question whether they have one or not. They do, and I know that because I know my people, right? And I am talking right to you, not to everyone else. But that call to action, like I said, still isn't terrific because let's talk is not a clear enough call to action. How do we talk? Am I calling you? Am I emailing you? Am I DMing you? What's up? So I want you to give specific times, days, or blocks of time that you are open to taking calls. That always helps people to make a decision about actually scheduling a call. They need to be able to see in their mind their own calendar and where a call with you might fit in. When you give someone specific times, in your call to action, they can actually imagine themselves talking to you in that time window and are much more likely to take action. So here are some other calls to action, CTAs, that worked in CCC. I have opened a block of time on my calendar for tomorrow afternoon. DM me to grab a spot. Another one, I have 3 openings this Thursday and Friday to answer your questions about coaching and how my program can help you. DM me to pick your time. Very clear, very specific. Really proud of the coaches for making these shifts in their CTAs. All right, last but certainly not least, number 14, how to make the most out of attending a conference. I would do two things, and I would think about how you can do both of these things quickly and smoothly when you are talking with someone at a conference that you attend. Number one is schedule one-to-ones. I want you, when you go to a conference, to have your calendar totally open the week following and schedule as many collaboration or collab meetings with referral partners right away. Schedule these however you need to. If that's manually by adding them right to your calendar and inviting the person using their email address, maybe it's pulling up your scheduling software and booking it yourself, which more on that in just a second. But it's not, hey, let's talk and set up a time when we get back from this conference. It's let's set up a time right now for next week. Okay. So here is how I would, do the logistics of this. When I attend a conference, I have two appointment types established, a 30-minute and a 60-minute type. The next week on my calendar is available for these two types of appointments in the scheduling software. When I'm talking with somebody, I pull it up and I say something like, let's meet for 30 minutes next week, or I'd love to continue this conversation next week. How's Monday look for you? Once we pick a day and time, then I say, okay, and what is your first and last name? Great. And your best email so you can get the reminder? Great. And your phone number? Awesome. Okay. You should have that in your email now. Can you go check that for me? Yep. That's it. So they're going to pull up their phone. They're going to pull up their email and it's going to come in. They're going to see in their inbox, they've got an appointment confirmation from me. And I say, yep, that's it. Okay. Go ahead and add the add to calendar or click the add to calendar button right now if you can. That way I know they're going to get the reminders right in their inbox and it's on their calendar. And I can even take one of their business cards and I can maybe write on it if they have one. Not everybody does these days. And I can write Monday, 10 a.m., meet for 30 minutes Zoom, or Monday, 30 minutes, I'll call you, right? Depending on the format. But the idea is to get it scheduled right then and there. Don't leave it open-ended. They're going to talk to a million people at a conference probably. You just want to get it scheduled. That way it's on their calendar. And you really want to complete all of the steps while you're right there in the conversation. The next thing you can do is give your freebie away to as many people as possible at a conference. You know it's good, right? You probably love your freebie. We had some amazing freebies that coaches were sharing and improving and up-leveling and all that kind of stuff in CCC. It was really cool to see just the amount of value that is delivered through a free offering. And it probably has a very targeted purpose. So when you attend a conference, be bold about bringing this up when you introduce yourself. So you could say something like, I help women in higher education transition to leadership positions and nail their salary negotiations. I have a free assessment I created that women have found really valuable and helpful. May I send it to you? Then pull up a quick form. Typically, this is through your email provider where you can type their name and email address. So now they're on your email list and they've received your freebie, which is really valuable and demonstrates probably what you do for people. Woo! Okay, 14 tips and strategies for optimizing your client attraction strategies, coach. Hopefully optimizing your marketing efforts and getting just a little bit more from the work you are already doing. Again, it's all about refinement and up-leveling what you are currently doing, not scrapping it and going in a completely different direction. All right. Your reflection question for this episode is, which one of these did you like best? Which one will you be implementing in your business? I would love to hear from you. Please let me know. And next episode, we're going to be talking about selling with integrity. Ooh, we're going to talk about sales. Don't get too intimidated. We're going to make it fun. I promise. I believe financial coaching is the best and most rewarding way to make a living. I truly love what I do. If you're ready to learn and see how to become a profitable, successful financial coach, check us out at financialcoachacademy.com to learn more about our online programs, free trainings, and events. As always, I love hearing from you too. If you have questions for this podcast or to share your thoughts on the reflection question from today's episode, go to financialcoachacademy.com/podcast. And if you love this podcast, please hit the thumbs up button on today's episode, subscribe, and leave us a rating or review on Apple Podcasts. It would mean the world to me, and I will see you next week, Coach.